Alright guys, so right here I have notes for this week's video. I'm just gonna let you guys know what we're gonna be doing today. Hey, what's up you guys, this is SGB618 here, and today, of course, we're chatting about Splatoon 3. I mean, how could I not? That was literally the biggest, the best thing in the Direct in my opinion, and I'm a Splatoon super fan. I need to stream it a lot more on the channel. I really can't lie, I was a massive doubter that this was going to happen. I just thought, well, we already have a Splatoon game on the Switch, so they're not going to make another one until the next Nintendo console, right? Wrong! We're getting 2 Splatoon games for the Nintendo Switch, which is really cool. Obviously, on a later day, I'll talk about how I feel about having 2 Splatoon games on one Nintendo system. But today, I want to talk about some theories and mysteries around this game, considering that we have plenty of time to talk about it, because obviously this game isn't coming out until 2022. Yes! Love the teasing, Nintendo. Love that. Definitely not salty. Yeah, we have a ton of time to kill before this game comes out, and I don't really want the hype to die down just yet. I still want to talk about it. So, without further ado, let's just go straight into it. Now, the first thing that we see is a cliff. Oh my, I'm joking. Yeah, so the first thing that we see is a cliff, right? Nothing too crazy. But then it sort of transitions into sort of like this wasteland area, and that really goes against what Splatoon was in the past, because it was very urban and it was really like, you know, technological and advanced and stuff like that. But it's quite a big shift in terms of environment, and it was quite shocking to see, especially when the shot changed to the Inkling and the Salmon, right? So my theory is that it has something to do with the Team Chaos and Team Order Splatfest at the end of Splatoon 2. That was the last Splatfest of Splatoon 2, and unfortunately Team Chaos won. I voted Team Order because Marina, but that is what it is. So I'm thinking, right, did Nintendo set up that Splatfest to set the tone for Splatoon 3? Because obviously it's based off a wasteland area and sort of like a deserted area, and Team Chaos won. So does that mean that the person or the team that won that Splatfest took over? You see what I mean? I just think it's quite weird that that's happened directly after that Splatfest. Maybe they might address it later on in another direct or update video, or when they're deciding to explain things in the game and explain what's to come. But I just thought that was really interesting to me, and I'll be very curious to see what the story is and why Splatoon actually looks like this. Another thing that caught my eye was the fact that we can play as Octolings straight away, like without having to pay for any sort of Octo expansion or other DLC. And on top of that, the Inkling in the video was with a Salmon, and they were on our side from the looks of things anyway. Like, it looked friendly and it was just following us around like a Pokemon or something. That was a long sentence. But that just makes me think, I don't think DJ Octavio is going to be the villain of this Splatoon game, because why else would the Octolings be playable in the main story if it's the main mode? And like, you see what I mean? Like, DJ Octavio is obviously like the leader of the Octolings, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So it would just be very strange if he's the villain. But yeah, obviously we can play as the Octoling. Maybe he's done something that's gone too far. I don't know. He could still be the villain. Maybe it's the Salmon people. I again don't think so, because we're obviously with a Salmon like during the game from the looks of things. So maybe we're collabing with them. I don't know. I think that it might be a completely new villain, or it could be the villain of Octo expansion, that blob megahorn looking thing. I just think it would be pretty cool if we would have a main story in Splatoon where we're collabing with the Octolings and the Salmon people. That would be really cool, and it will make it feel a lot more like Avengers Endgame if anything. I also wonder as well if this is going to be the biggest story mode out of any Splatoon game. I mean, we already see a little bit of it in action where it's a wide angle shot and the Inkling is sort of just walking along the side of it. Lots of people think that this could introduce sort of an open world thing to Splatoon. That would be really cool, and I'm not denying it, but I just don't think that that's the case. I think it would just sort of like go too far away from the source material, and also I think it's too good to be true. That would be great, but again, I don't want to have my hopes up way too high and then disappoint myself. So I just think that it's sort of a shift in camera angle when you're like sort of moving around the place, whether it's open world or if it's just transitioning from one level to another. But we'll see what happens. I have no idea. Now I want to talk about weapons, because the first weapon that we saw in this trailer, again with that single Inkling in the desert looking area, is a bow and arrow. But it's not an arrow, it's ink. That is a very cool idea, I can't lie. I actually think that's such a cool idea that I think it will be a great idea now to think of some possible weapons that may appear in this game. I've come up with a couple of crazy ideas that we might see here. So obviously, quickly going back to the bow and arrow, I think it's very cool idea. And there was a little flashing effect in the trailer which could signify that it's a one-hit kill thing. How it changes between the sniper and this, I don't know, but again, we'll see what happens. Very interested to see how that works out. So linking with bows, what if we got a crossbow one? Obviously it might be a little bit faster to do, and also it might be a more of a trigger input rather than sort of pull, aim and fire to release, I don't know. But I think it would be quite cool to have a crossbow one to sort of complement the bow and arrow one as well. This is a bit of a mad one, but what if we had a stamp weapon? So it's sort of like shaped like a hand, but then you can literally stamp sort of high fives or whatever like on the ground, and maybe it could be a one-hit kill like the paint roller. I know that there's sort of an ability for that, but that's more of like a hammer. I'm talking about like it's sort of used in a similar way to the roller, but it moves at a slower speed than that hammer ability, if that makes sense. If that was its own item without any abilities, that would be pretty cool, I think. Here's another cool one, an ink drone. I think this one might be an ability actually, because I don't know how that would work as a regular weapon to use in the game. So like you would obviously fly around the place, and like you could maybe drop bombs, sprinkle a bit of ink on the ground or something. You can control it using motion controls, I don't know. I just think that would be quite cool. You'll be able to sort of see everything down below. Again, I don't know how this is going to work, but what if we had an ink hose? So you see how you got one of them hoses in your garden, you know, to, you know, I guess spray grass or something. Yeah, I don't know how this will work, but let's say that you just got an ink hose and like you're just sort of blasting people away with ink and stuff like that. Again, I would probably say that this might be an ability, because obviously hoses need to be connected to another thing in order to function, like something on the side. And also I think that that would be quite broken. What if we had an ink cannon? I know that we sort of have like ink launchers, and I think that's another thing that is quite cool that was introduced in this game. But what if we had sort of an ink cannon where like we can actually have it on our backs or something, and then we can sort of launch like little big balls of ink at our opponents? I think that would be quite cool. And I don't know what the damage would be on that. I think they could make that a regular weapon if they tone down the amount of damage it is, but you never know. And my last idea that I have is a little bit crazy, but hear me out. An ink boomerang. So like you throw it around and then it comes back to you, but it sort of sprinkles ink like whilst it's moving around. And maybe if you hit someone, like it does a lot more damage when you actually hit them. I don't know. I just thought about that at the top of my head, and it would be very interesting to see that in the game, I can't lie. So I made mention of the intro cannon things at the beginning of Splatoon 3, so obviously you're able to launch yourself onto the match rather than just walking or running or sliding. But another thing that I noticed was the fact that not everyone came out of their sort of pan thing in the same way. Some people were standing on it and other people were hanging on it. So that just made me think, do we have optional customization on how we can enter? Like, do we have our own custom entrances? That would be so sick, I can't lie, because it's not exactly necessary, but it looks cool. We're already able to customize our look, so being able to customize how our character acts, that's really neat. And the last thing I want to quickly touch on is locations. I don't really want to go into details in terms of like what I think we'll have, but I just think it's quite weird that this Splatoon game is based off of sort of a post-apocalyptic world, and obviously the level that we saw in the trailer, it was again based around that. But if that is the case, then does that mean that every level or every location that we're going to be battling in are going to be based around that? So they're going to be partly damaged, sort of deserted around the background areas and stuff like that. I'm just really not sure, and I'm very curious to see if that's the case or not. It's not exactly something that bothers me, it's just something that has me curious, because if the game already has a location theme, is that theme going to carry over in the levels? We're just going to have to wait and see until 2022. So there we have it, guys. Those are a couple of mysteries, theories and a bit of questions about Splatoon 3. Very much looking forward to this game, as you can tell. I do plan on streaming it in the future when it comes out later. And yeah, please comment down below your thoughts on everything that I said in this video. Do you agree with them? Do you not? And let me know of any mysteries, questions and theories that you might have about Splatoon 3. I'll be very interested to know. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.